The crack of metal against steel echoed through the yard. My daughter's pink bike, her only birthday gift, lay twisted on the concrete. My mom stood over it, hammer still in her grip. And as if that wasn't enough, she turned and slapped my 7-year-old across the face. "That should be a lesson," she said, her voice steady, like this was discipline instead of cruelty. My little girl clutched her cheek, eyes wide, breath stuck in her throat. Before I could move, my sister chimed in from the porch. "You shouldn't have bought it for her anyway." Their voices blended into something cold. Like they had rehearsed this moment, like breaking her spirit was just another chore on their list. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I didn't even step forward. Instead, I kept my hands loose at my sides. I kept my eyes on my daughter, because her gaze was trembling, looking at me, waiting to see if I'd explode. But I didn't. I smiled. One sentence left my lips, calm and quiet. A line so soft it made their laughter stop. It drained the color from their faces. And for the first time, they knew this wouldn't end the way they thought. I reached for my daughter's hand and held it tight. No more words. No fight. Just silence, and that one sentence echoing louder than any scream ever could. Have you ever watched your own family reveal who they really are? I walked my daughter inside, past the cracked bike frame and the hammer still lying in the dirt. She didn't cry out loud, she just held my hand tighter, like silence was safer than tears. I sat her on the couch, brushed the hair out of her face and whispered, "You're safe here." But the truth was we weren't. From the window, I could see my mom pacing the yard, still muttering under her breath. My sister had her phone out, already typing like this was gossip for her friends. I could almost hear the words they'd send out. "He can't even control his kid. That bike was a waste. We taught her a lesson." They thought this was power. They thought breaking a child's spirit would prove a point. But I'd learned something over the years. You don't fight people like them with noise. You don't outscream them. You outlast them. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with the bank folder I'd hidden for months. Savings, receipts, every deposit I'd made. Quiet work they never noticed. My sister once laughed at me for keeping boring papers, stacked in binders. My mom told me men who save instead of spend are weak. They didn't know those boring papers held the one thing they couldn't smash with a hammer. I looked at my daughter asleep on the couch, her cheeks still red, her small arms curled around the pillow. And in that moment, I knew. They thought they'd taught her a lesson. But it was me who'd been watching. And now it was my turn to teach them. Have you ever let someone believe they've won, just so you could show them what real loss looks like? By morning, the pieces of the bike were gone. Not repaired. Not replaced. Just gone, like it had never existed. I knew who took it. Mom believed erasing proof would erase memory. But kids don't forget the first time someone destroys what they love. Over breakfast, my sister leaned back in her chair. "You spoil her too much," she said, sipping orange juice like she hadn't just watched a child's face go red from her slap. Mom added, "She should be thankful we're keeping her in line. Otherwise, she'll end up like you. Like me. The boy who never fought back. The man they thought they could still control." I kept eating, each bite heavy, each word I didn't say burning in my throat. Later, when they left for errands, I opened the locked cabinet in the hallway. The key wasn't where they thought. It was in my wallet, taped behind my driver's license. Inside the cabinet were old documents they assumed I'd forgotten. The deed to this house. The title to the car. The savings account paperwork. All in my name. Signed years ago when my father was still alive. Documents they never bothered to check because they assumed nothing belonged to me. I pressed my thumb against the faded ink of my father's signature. He had given me more than they knew. For years I let them talk. I let them insult. I let them believe I was too weak to stand. But now, every word, every smirk, every cruel lesson, was about to come back to them. Have you ever watched someone dig their own hole, without realizing you're the one holding the rope? That evening, Mom called a family talk in the living room. She sat upright in Dad's old recliner, like a queen on a throne she hadn't earned. My sister leaned against the wall, arms crossed, a smirk that never left her face. "You need to learn boundaries," Mom said. "You don't buy things without asking us first. Especially for her." She nodded toward my daughter, who sat quietly, tracing circles on the couch cushion. I didn't argue. I just asked, "What exactly are you saying?" "That we run this house," Mom shot back. "And don't forget, you owe us. We've carried you for years." Carried me. The same woman who made me pay rent in high school while my sister lived free. The same sister who took every paycheck I earned at the grocery store, claiming it was for the family. But I didn't respond. I let them stack their words higher and higher, Like bricks on a wall they didn't realize I was about to pull out from the bottom. When the room finally went quiet, I stood up. "I hear you," I said softly. Then I walked to my daughter, kissed her head, and told her to get ready for bed. Upstairs, as she drifted to sleep, I sat at my desk with a blank piece of paper. One line. That's all it took. The kind of line that changes everything. By the time the ink dried, the plan was set. Not revenge through shouting, not through breaking things back, but through truth, timing, and paper stronger than any hammer. Have you ever realized the quietest answer is sometimes the loudest revenge? The next week, the tension in the house grew thicker. Mom barked orders like a drill sergeant, my sister rolled her eyes at everything I did, and my daughter tiptoed around, afraid of the next outburst. They thought they'd broken me. Truth was, I just stopped playing their game. On Friday, I told them I'd be working late. Instead, I drove across town and walked into a quiet office building, oak doors, carpeted halls, and the steady hum of printers. The lawyer's handshake was firm. "Everything's ready," he said. I slid the folder across the desk. Inside, the deed transfer confirming the house had been left to me alone. The car title in my name. A savings account balance they didn't know existed. "Once these are filed, they won't have a say in anything anymore," he assured me. I nodded. That's the point. By the time I returned home, the kitchen was filled with laughter. Mom and my sister were at the table, gossiping, mocking me like usual. "Where have you been?" my sister asked. "Working," I answered. They laughed like the word itself was a joke. I didn't correct them. I just sat down, pulled out my daughter's homework, and helped her with each line, ignoring their whispers. Because soon their voices would mean nothing. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. My father's voice played in my memory, steady, calm. "Paper protects you better than fists ever could." And for the first time in years, I felt like he was right there in the room with me. Have you ever held a secret so heavy it feels like a weapon, without lifting a single hand? Saturday morning, Mom stormed into the kitchen holding a letter. Her face was pale, the usual confidence gone. "What is this?" she demanded, slapping the envelope on the counter. My sister grabbed it and skimmed. "Deed transfer? Since when is the house yours?" I poured my coffee slowly, letting the silence answer before I did. "Since the day Dad signed it," I said calmly. They blinked like I'd spoken another language. Mom's voice cracked. "That's impossible." "He promised, he said everything would be for the family." "For the family," I repeated. "Funny how that always meant you too." My daughter sat at the table, her spoon clinking softly against her cereal bowl. She didn't look up. But I could see the corners of her mouth twitch, like for once she didn't feel powerless. "You forged this," my sister snapped. I met her eyes. "Then prove it." The kitchen went quiet. The hammer that once smashed my daughter's bike suddenly felt small compared to a few sheets of paper. Mom sank into a chair, her hands shaking. My sister paced like a trapped animal. They weren't used to silence. They were used to me explaining myself, defending myself, apologizing. But I just sipped my coffee. When the weight of it finally hit them, Mom whispered, "So what now?" I set my mug down. "Now. Nothing changes. Not today. Not tomorrow. You can keep sitting here, pretending you run things. But deep down you'll know the truth." The room grew heavy with it. For the first time they had no script. No control. Have you ever watched power slip out of someone's hands, without you even touching them? By Sunday afternoon the house felt different. Mom barely spoke. My sister kept slamming doors, muttering under her breath. They thought silence would punish me. But it only made the truth louder. That evening, while my daughter colored at the table, I opened my laptop and placed a thin stack of envelopes beside me. My sister noticed first. "What's that?" she asked. I didn't answer. I slid one across the table. She tore it open, and froze. Bank statements. Every dollar Dad had left in the savings account. Transferred years ago, into my name. "Impossible," she whispered. Mom snatched the second envelope. Inside the car title. Clear as day. Signed. Filed. Mine. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just leaned back and let them read. For years they had fed me the same line. "You owe us. We carried you. This isn't your house. This isn't your money." And in seconds those words turned to dust. My daughter looked up at me, her crayon still in her hand. Her voice was small but steady. "Does this mean they can't hurt me anymore?" I swallowed hard. "It means they never could." The silence that followed wasn't heavy anymore, it was hollow. Mom's eyes darted across the papers, searching for loopholes that weren't there. My sister's smirk was gone, replaced by something new, fear. And I realized, This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about showing my daughter that dignity can't be smashed, no matter how many hammers they swing. Have you ever seen the moment someone realizes the power they claimed over you never really existed? Monday morning, I walked my daughter to school. Her steps were lighter. She didn't glance over her shoulder the way she had the day before. When I came back, the house was quiet. Mom sat in the recliner, my sister on the couch. Both stared at me like they were waiting for orders, except this time not to give but to receive. I set the final envelope on the coffee table. Neither of them reached for it. So I opened it myself, sliding the letter free. "I filed this today," I said. Their eyes followed the words. It wasn't anger. It wasn't revenge. It was a notice. They could stay in the house, but only as guests. No decisions. No control. No claims. "You can sit here, eat here, talk here," I said. "But the roof? The bills? The future? That's mine. And hers." I nodded toward the small bedroom upstairs where my daughter's drawings lined the wall. Mom's lips parted, but no words came. My sister shifted, her face pale. And I didn't need more than that, because the truth had already done what shouting never could. Later that night, as I tucked my daughter into bed, she whispered, "Dad, will they still be mean?" I smiled, brushing her hair back. "They can try. But now they answer to us." Downstairs, the same women who had laughed at me, called me weak, and struck a child sat in silence, stripped of the illusion they had clung to for years. And I realized something. Revenge isn't about hurting back. It's about standing so quietly, so firmly, that the ground beneath them gives way on its own. The lesson wasn't hers to learn. It was theirs.